All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Director Bound Call 4. Yay! So hopefully everyone has had a good week. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're going to jump right in. So this is a really exciting part of the training because now we are talking about building a team. That is what this whole focus is. We're laying that groundwork with those other skills, but the whole point of this is so we can help each one of you build your very own team. When you share our amazing business opportunity, remember that there are people out there who need this for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's emotional support, sometimes it's the products. There are a lot of different reasons why people need this opportunity. So we're going to talk about informing and inviting. Now, some of you might be familiar with the difference, and sometimes it's good to have a refresher, but we're going to talk about the difference between informing and inviting people to join our business. So let's just touch base on last week. Last week was focusing on host coaching. So tell everybody share a little bit about how your host coaching has gone over the past week. Share what worked for you, what kind of results you've gotten, and in our call to action, your challenge, your assignment was to coach each one of your hosts. So let's hear how everything went. And remember, you're in a safe place, so if it didn't go perfectly, this is a good place to talk about it. So how did the host coaching go?
Oh, good. I'll start then.
Okay.
I'll make everyone else feel better.
Okay, got it.
So I had two parties that were going on last week. Host coaching wise, one, I think I did a little bit better as far as doing the things I was supposed to do. And the other, I didn't get as much done.
Okay.
The ironic thing is the one that I did more was not as successful as the one that I kind of let her do her own thing.
Okay.
So the first one I kept watching things, and she went into it excited as far as she was telling me. We went through, I gave her all the info. I'm like, here's what you want to do. There's not a lot of participation in the online party. Okay, so here's some ways that you can combat that. Let's talk to individuals. Talk to them like you're talking to them in your house.
Yeah.
Open-ended questions. Ask them things.
Yeah.
Try to pull that out. If you see something that somebody would like, something that's meant for the kids in the family, tag somebody with their kids and be like, oh my God, Susie, wouldn't little Timmy love this?
Yep.
Things along those lines. And so I'm giving the suggestions, but really all I got was a like and an occasional, oh, that looks cool.
Okay.
So she didn't take the advice that was being given.
So she did or did not take the advice?
Did not. She was doing some of them, but she was kind of about it.
Yeah.
The other host was ridiculously excited to the point where she reached out to me before I could reach out to her to say, I'm concerned about the lack of sales. And I'm like, awesome. So here's some ways we can combat that. So there was still a lot of communication. In hindsight and in talking to them, I kind of did a little exit interview with each one.
Okay.
And with the one that was successful, she remembered some of the things that I coached her before the party. So a lot, like during the party, we didn't touch base as much, but she was doing the things that we talked about.
Okay.
She was talking to people. She was keeping them excited. She was engaged, and she was keeping the conversation going, or trying to. And her daughter was helping out. So I think she had a ringer, but that's okay.
Ringers are welcome.
Yep. As a result, I had like 3 sales from her. Granted, one of them was $1.65, but I'll take it.
Okay. Yep.
The other one, the one that had literally 0 sales in her party, I felt so bad. And I reached out after I asked, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry that it went this way. Is there anything that I could have done differently? Like, what do you think would, like, how do you feel right now?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry that you didn't have any sales. This is the first time that I've really had that happen. And she says, that's okay. I didn't think it would happen. And I went, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what it really kind of boiled down to me was I didn't get that vibe from her because we communicated so much
Yep.
Via IM.
Yep.
Her schedule and my schedule.
Yep.
I think what I'm taking away from it is that I need to do more ways of coaching than just IM.
Right.
I want to listen to what she's saying. I want to hear her voice because it's easier for somebody to type the words, everything's going fine, I'll do that, thank you,
Mm-hmm.
than it is for them sometimes to say it.
Yep.
If I could hear, that she was going through a rough time, if I could hear some of the things that were happening in her life that week, I could have done things maybe a little bit differently or approached things differently.
Yep.
Even suggested postponing the party.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think that's my biggest takeaway.
Okay.
Was kind of layer. We've talked about this more this week.
Yeah.
Layered the approaches and the different ways that we can coach, but also the different ways that I can contact them.
Yeah. And that's really important. And being on the phone with a virtual host is super important too, because it's so different when you're at an in-person party. You're there. You have the people in the room. But with a virtual party, we're so limited. So anytime that we can get on the phone with the host is really going to make a big difference. So that's great that you picked up on that. And the other thing to remember too is whenever we have a party that doesn't go the way that we expected it to, what I always do is I stop and I just do a little self-check. Like, okay, did I do everything I should have done? Did I do everything to the best of my ability? Because once in a while, you know what, we're human. And if I can look back and say, no, you know what, I dropped the ball, then I know what I need to go back and look at the next time. If you can honestly say, no, I did this, we talked about this, we went over this. If you can honestly say you did everything to the best of your ability, once in a while, that's just how life rolls. But what I found is more often than not, and just so you all know, and most of you know this, it's rare that parties come in that, don't qualify, whether it's a virtual party or an in-person party. But when they do, what I found is often it's something that I didn't do as well as I could have done. So Brian, you said it sounds like you got some self-reflection, some things like, okay, so next time I'll try this, and this differently. So this is always a learning process. So you know what? You were able to go through and do what you're supposed to do and learn from it. And that's all we can ever do. So that's good. That's good. So anybody else want to share a little bit about how host coaching went from last week? Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
So we're just talking about how host coaching went last week. So one of the assignments was to coach each one of your hosts. So Kim or Amanda, if Kim is still here, I'm not sure if Kim is still here. Somebody share a little bit about how host coaching went with you. Did anybody else host coach? I will take the silence as a no. So what happened? Let's talk about it. What happened if the host coaching didn't occur last week? What stopped it from happening? Did you do any host coaching, Nicole?
Oh, I definitely did.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and share. What worked?
I mean, I did. I didn't know if you wanted me to share or not,
Yeah,
but
anybody, yeah.
I think I host coach at least every couple of days for my shows.
Good.
I mean, for me, host coaching is always, about making your paycheck before you get to the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the end. So for me, host coaching, I do a lot of host coaching even every single day, even my virtual parties.
Yep.
I can tell you that. Sending the host different things to do each and every single day.
Yeah.
It's something that is a big, huge must for your virtuals.
Yep.
Also, a little extra something. This is just me that I started doing recently because I'm pulling out all the stops for this year.
Good.
So one of the things that I started doing as well is I started throwing in there with my host coaching towards the end of the conversation on the phone.
Mhm.
For anyone, now this is for cooking shows only because my passion is behind my cooking shows.
Okay.
And I have so much extra stuff. I don't know if you see everything behind me. So this is just for me. I don't know if anybody else ever wants to offer something like this, but you can. I started offering for anyone who books with me or hosts January through February, that they get their name entered into a drawing with multiple shows. So the
Mhm.
more shows they get booked, the more times they get entered into a drawing for a deep covered baker.
Nice.
So that's something I have in my stash.
Yep.
My parties are pretty local for the most part, so I'll be able to go deliver that when we go live and on my personal, not my personal newsfeed, but my group that I
Yep.
have. And I started throwing that in there, and I have started to see a little bit of extra something come from that because my
Nice.
hosts are kind of excited about it. Some of them are. I can't
Yep.
say all of them, but some of them are.
Yep.
And one of the hosts actually ended up with getting 2 shows booked before the party, and her party isn't even till February.
Yeah. Way to go.
For me, that's just a little something extra I started
Yep.
host coaching towards, was trying to figure out a way of how I can really amp up some more shows. I want to get booked until April.
Yeah, you do.
I don't want to fit anyone on my calendar until
Yeah.
April. That's the way I'm looking at it.
I love it.
So you got to host coach if you expect the shows
Yeah.
to get on your calendar. And if you want them way in advance, just host coach so you get those shows on your calendar way in advance.
Absolutely.
So that's just, a little extra something I started doing with that in the end. So
Love it.
there you go.
And just like everything else, remember that we are always learning. So whenever you feel like you're running into an issue or things aren't going as well as you would like them to be, go back and do some training. Go back. You can even go back to the basics in PCU. There are all kinds of YouTube things you can watch. There are some fantastic training audios that we've started to tap into. So it's always a work in progress. So as long as you are all, we are all continuing to learn and get better, then that's all we can ask for. So let's also talk about tracking. How many of you have you been tracking your leads? How's it going? Yeah, good. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what system you use as long as it works for you, whether it's on paper or digital, it makes no difference. But make sure that it's something that you can consistently do and that you do it consistently. And if this is a new habit for you, maybe think of setting reminders in your phone, like at the end of every party or before every party, to get yourself into the habit of making sure that you're keeping down your booking, you're writing down your booking and recruit leads, because it's so easy to think of this person, when you're driving away from that house for an in-person party, and 2 days later you're like, wait a minute, was it Catherine or Lisa? Who was that? You know what I mean? So whatever you need to do, make sure you're making notes and you're keeping track of your leads. What about 3, 2, 1? We started talking about that a little bit more. How many people have done at least 3 contacts a day over the past week? Nice.
I have not.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying, but
Yep. Amanda, what about you? I can't really hear you, honey. Try again.
I have not tried.
You have not?
No.
Okay. So this is the formula for success. And one thing that I can tell everybody is it's up to you with your business to do what it takes to get to your goals. We can't make you do it. We can encourage you. We're going to support you. But bottom line is, if you truly do want to promote to director, and if you truly do want to get to Disney and earn all these amazing perks, make sure that you're holding yourself accountable. And if you need help, we are here to help you. But those contacts on a continual basis, that's where your business is. 3 contacts a day, 2 shows a week, 1 recruit a month. That will get you everything you will ever want in this business. So make sure that you're finding the time to do it. If, for example, you can't do every single night or every single day, set aside that power hour. 15 contacts a day, that can be done in a half an hour if you want to set aside that time. But this is what we're looking for. This is the formula of success. Tried and true. You could ask anybody who's been around for a while and has success. This is what will make you get there. All right. Let's talk about the homework. What did you learn from the Make It Impactful audio? Just share anything that you took away that you liked. Did everybody listen, or did anybody listen? Let's figure out where we all are. Who listened? Yay. Okay. What do you remember? What did you take away from it, Amanda?
Can't hear her.
Yeah. Try putting the mic real close to you. We for whatever reason, we really can't hear you.
Is that
We can't hear you at all. I don't know what's up. We can't hear you at all, Amanda. All right, we'll let her kind of reconfigure.
I think she had some audio problems the other week too.
Yeah, she did. She did.
I think she's changing her headset out.
I think you're right. Yep. Nicole, did you listen?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you listen to the Make It Impactful audio?
So I'll be honest with you, no, I didn't listen to it this time. I have listened to that
Yeah.
in the past.
Okay.
And it does make a difference in what you're going to do and what you're going to say and how different things.
Yep. Amanda, try again.
Oh, yeah, nope.
No, we can't hear you at all. I don't know what's going on.
Aww.
But you know what? You can, there's a chat function. If you want to type it in, you can just chat to everybody, just something that you took away from it. And while she's doing that, remember that a lot of these things you can download to your device, so you can be listening to them when you're driving. So I know that finding extra time sometimes can be challenging, but everyone's driving. I guarantee everybody drove for at least an hour in the past week. So there are ways that you can fit it in, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, good host coaching leads to more successful business. Absolutely, absolutely. So the homework, again, this is what's going to help drive your business so you can achieve your goals. So little
it is
self-check here.
super important to do your homework. You
Yeah.
will not get as much out of it if you do not do it.
Yeah. So little tough love here, okay? You guys all signed up because you all have an amazing ability and you have a vision. Don't give up on that vision already, okay? If you're struggling with time to get the homework done, or you're having a hard time figuring out how do I do my 3, 2, 1, talk to us. That's why we're here. You're investing an hour each week on this call. Make it worth your time, okay? These steps are what will wind up getting you to where you want to be, all right? All right, so let's move on. So we're going to talk about sharing the opportunity. And this is actually really a very simple process. We're talking about informing, inviting, and then the opportunity chat. So who here already has at least one person on their team? I'm curious to see who we have. Anybody have any recruits yet? No.
I did this month.
You've assigned somebody this month?
Yes.
Yay! So is that your very first consultant?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah. So
I've been
how
doing
many?
it 7 years.
Okay. I was going to say, I think you've got more than that. Okay. So we're going to break this down a little bit. So there's a difference between informing and inviting. Informing is when you're creating interest, you're getting the information out there. Inviting is when you actually invite them personally. Okay? So you're informing your guests when you're giving out information, variety of different times throughout your parties, whether they're virtual or in person. You want to give enough information to create some interest, to get them kind of thinking. And examples are like if you tell your story, talk about, some things that came in your kit, planting little seeds like this, Or, if somebody's in love with a quick cooker, well, that's actually the new consultant bonus this month. Those little seeds like that, okay? And you'll go over the questions on the door prize slip at the end, but there's a few different ways that we're going to talk about informing. Now, for virtual parties, it's the same kind of thing. It's the posts about why you love being a consultant, post, products that you earn, talk about the new consultant kits, the products that come in them. And another time you can inform is doing the recruiting activities. So truth, no consequences. Who is consistently doing recruiting information sections at your parties? Okay, good.
They do.
Awesome. So this is, again, something that needs to be done every single time, and we can help you, all right? So when we're doing, whether it's a recruiting game or an activity where it's about, posting and that kind of stuff, that is ways that we can get information out there. So they're going to want to ask some questions about the job. Inviting is when you are personally inviting people to learn more. It's not inviting them to sell immediately. Some people will sign right at the parties, but the first step for most is just to get more information. So that's really all we're inviting them to do, is to find out more. And it could be something just as like, do you want to go grab a cup of coffee and we can talk more about this? Okay? It doesn't need to be anything more than that. And we want to just make it so it's comfortable. You want to go get a cup of coffee? We'll see what you think, answer your questions, see if this is a good fit for you. That's it, okay? And if you're calling or texting or private messaging them, it's the same thing. And we want to make sure that we're doing the informing, but we have to do the inviting. The analogy that I was given years ago is informing. Think about that as like the wedding announcement or the engagement announcement section, online or in the paper. When you see that, that's informing. That doesn't mean you were invited to the wedding. Okay, so we need to invite all of our leads to the wedding. So tell everybody during the parties, but that one-on-one is where you will find your leads and where you will find people who want to sit down and talk. Okay. So this can be happening, like I had said, I kind of skipped a little, sorry. So it's going to happen at a variety of different places in your show. And again, it doesn't matter if it's, virtual or in person. The first one is typically when you do your introduction or your group hello. That's when obviously you're going to have the guests introduce themselves. You're going to tell your story a little bit. Some people will tell their story at the end. Some people tell at the beginning. I choose to do it at the beginning, and I think it makes more sense to do it at the beginning because they don't know you. Okay, maybe the past host and one person there knows you, but most other people don't. And this is going to be literally like 30 seconds. This is not your life story, and it's not a time to bare your soul, but it's a chance for them to get a little bit of a sneak peek and just to understand who you are a little bit. And then you're going to be doing those, planting those seeds. And I'm sure you've all have heard this before, but it's those little things like, oh, that came in the new consultant kit. That's the new consultant bonus this month. Those kinds of things, those little seeds throughout, those will help to inform. One way that I really love talking about it when you're talking about the kits is when you break down the price of like 2 products and they understand how much value is in that kit. So for example, the Everyday Rock Crock, you could say something like, we love it, we use it all the time, came in my new consultant kit. So if you love this product and you decide you want to have it, it's $119. But for just $40 more, you can try this amazing business and purchase the deluxe kit instead. You'll get that Rock Crock and the Simple Slicer we just used, which is $32, plus about $300 more in products, a lot of them which we use today for only $159, okay? And so when you put it in that kind of perspective, it's an aha, okay? And again, whether it's virtual or in person, it doesn't matter. When you're showing recipes with those tools, when you connect the dots for them, it's kind of a no-brainer. That's why those products are in those kits, and that's why they're price pointed that way, to make it so it's very simple to try.
Hey, Julie, will you do that little thing again so we can hear it twice?
Say that again, honey?
Would you do that again so we can hear it again so we can get it in our brains?
Absolutely. Awesome. Yep. So You're talking about the Rock Croc Everyday Pants. When you're using it, say this is one of my favorite tools. It's so versatile. We use it all the time. It came in my new consultant kit. If you have fallen in love with this product today and you decide you want to have it, it's only $119. But for just $40 more, you can decide to try this business and purchase the deluxe kit instead. You'll get the Rock Croc and the Simple Slicer, which is $32. Plus, you'll get about $300 more in products for $159. And I can put that verbiage in the group too.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic because at that point, people are like, oh, I'm going to spend $120. I'm going to spend $140. Why would you not try this? It's a no-brainer, okay? Let's see, the other thing too, talk about perks. You know, like we had talked about, mention those different things, the free products, the trips, the support, the fun, the second family, all of those different things. And the thing to remember too is people at your parties all are going to be looking for different things from the business. Everybody's going to be interested in the money, but it's not always about the money. Some people literally do not need the income. It doesn't mean that they don't need this opportunity. Okay, there are people who have all the money, but they don't have any friends. They don't have any social life. They have nobody to talk to. This could help them with that. There could be people who maybe don't really need the money, but they really want to be able to learn how to cook. Okay, there are lots of consultants who started because they didn't know how to cook. So make sure that you're touching on a whole variety of different examples when you're at your parties and when you're doing your virtual parties. Okay. And then the last part that we talk about is the confident close, or can't even get my words out tonight, but the confident close. And when we're doing the door prize slip, and it doesn't matter again if you're doing a Google one online or if you're doing one in person, we do these at the very end. Why do we do this at the end and not at the beginning? Who can answer why we do them at the end?
I can say.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It is because then people have now gotten to know you and trust you, and they're more willing to host that show because there has been a relationship that has been built throughout the party, whether it's virtual or an in-person cooking show.
Yep.
So either way, you want to, they're more apt to want to definitely host. I always hand this out, okay, in my catalogs, but I mentioned to everybody, do not fill this out till the end.
Yep. Yep.
And they don't. They're pretty good about it. So that's why.
No, and that's exactly it. At the beginning, people, you might get a first name and a bunch of no's. They're just not going to do it. But at the end, they fall in love with the products. They've had a blast. They've learned a lot more. And now people are a lot more receptive. And the other thing, too, what Nicole was just touching on, is we hand them out, walk everybody through it. Okay, so hold them up. And I think Judy Joel once said, pretend you're a kindergarten teacher. Tell them what to do. Wait until they do it. And then go on to the next one. So you go, all right, so go ahead and put in your name, your address, and if you stop, they're going to be like, oh, crap, I'm supposed to do this because we all went to kindergarten, okay? So walk them through it, name, phone number, email, put that information in, and then make sure that you're highlighting those boxes at the bottom. And again, whether it's a Google form online or not, it doesn't matter. Highlight and explain. If you have some more questions about trying this out, or you have some interest, check yes, and we can chat about it. Think you might want to do a party? Check yes. Make sure you're mentioning fundraisers, wedding registries, the gift registries, all that kind of stuff, okay? And when you are saying go ahead and check yes, make sure you let them know that they still have an out, okay? Checking yes doesn't mean they've just signed their soul away. Say, if you have some questions, if you have some interest, check yes, we'll talk about it. Doesn't mean you've signed your life away. It just means you've got a question, and that way I can make sure that I touch base with you. And that way people are a lot more at ease and a lot more willing to say, yeah, I've got a question, because we've given them permission to still say no. All we're looking for right now is leads, okay? That's what we're looking for. So let's talk about red flag questions. These are the questions from people who are most likely going to be your leads because they're already thinking. They're thinking about different things. So, you know, how many shows do you do in a week? How many consultants are in the area? Do you do them all at night? All of these questions, and I'm sure some of you have had these questions before. The trick is, what do we do about it? Okay? And understanding that these people are asking because there's some level of interest for themselves in there. Once in a while, someone's just making conversation, but more often than not, they're trying to envision how this would fit into their lives. So red flag questions they're really important to pay attention to, and then you're going to be able to follow up. So you're going to keep the answers short and make sure that you always bring it back to the other person. So for example, if they say, how many shows do you do in a week? You could say, well, I choose to do 2 a week, but it's completely up to you how many you would do if you decided to try this. Okay? Do you get to keep all those products? Yeah, I do. And that's the cool thing too. If you decide to give this a try, you get a bunch of free products as you get started. So answer the question very briefly and always bring it back to them so it continues to be about them. Remember, it's always about them. Answer the question and then put it back into perspective for them. Okay? So the next one, red flag behaviors. Okay? Some people are going to say things, but other times you want to pay attention to what's going on. So the people who get there early and stay late. Okay? Sometimes it's just a girlfriend who got out of work, but it's not always. So kind of figure out what's going on. And if people want to help you, let them. Absolutely. Tell your story and hear from them. And if you've ever been to an in-person party where you've got some hecklers, follow up with them. Because it may be, you know, like the passive-aggressive way of saying, I could do this. I could totally do this. And yeah, they could. Okay? So follow up with those people who come in a lot and already have a lot of items. So pay attention to some of the red flag behaviors too. Okay? How many of you have seen, you know, these things happening at your parties or heard some of these red flag questions? I'm guessing, has everybody has run into some of these things? Yep. Okay. And maybe didn't know how to respond. So this is why we're going through this. Okay. All right. So telling your story. This again, like I said, this is not your life story. This is a very brief version. And the easiest way to do it is why you started, why do you stay, and what you're excited about next. Okay. If you go into too much detail, then people can't relate and they're going to tune you out. All right. So it could be something like, I started with Pampered Chef because I was a stay-at-home mom and I needed to get out of my house so I still loved my kids. Okay. Something very short. Why do you stay? So I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids were 6 months old and 4 years old, and I love them, but I needed to get out of the house. I stay because it's turned into this incredible business that I never in a million years ever thought would be possible, and I have an absolute blast. And what I'm really excited about next is seeing the people around me grow and have a lot of fun with this business too. That was like 30 seconds. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Give them just a little bit of information and keep it relatable. All right. I happen to be a stay-at-home mom, but if you are talking to a room full of people who are not stay-at-home parents, they don't want to hear the whole details about my boring days with the kids. You know what I mean? Keep it short, keep it relatable, and move on. All right. So let's talk about recruiting activities. And again, this is always just, I'm curious to see where we're at. We've talked about, you know, who does them. How many of you have ever done or consistently do the ticket game?
I do it at every show.
Okay. All right. What about Pass the Prize? And if you don't know what these are, this is okay. I'm just curious to see who's tried what. Anyone do Pass the Prize? Okay. What about the envelope game?
I integrated it into my ticket game.
Okay, good. What about the Do You Know cards, the little labels? Okay, or the Y bag. Some of you probably heard of the Y bag, right? Nobody uses that. Or the recruiting side. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can get this information out. And whichever one you're most comfortable with, that's the one you use. All right. So we're going to go really quickly and just kind of give you a brief definition and explanation of each one of these. And obviously, if you have questions about them, let us know so we can help you. So the ticket game got the most responses. This is what most of you are doing. So has anybody here not tried the ticket game ever? So everyone's at least tried it. Okay, so you're all familiar with this. So a couple of just tips on this. We'll keep it very short. With a ticket game, typically you want to make sure that you only have a limited number of tickets because, again, we want to make sure we're piquing their interest but not dragging it out too long. So if you're going there with the entire roll of tickets, stop. Okay, like break off like 8, 9, 10 tickets and end it there, because when people still have questions, then you have the opportunity to sit down on the one-on-one with the checkout chat and really make that connection with them. Okay, so that's just a quick tip on that. Okay, so pass the prize. So it's the same idea, but instead of tickets, you're going to hand the prize from one person to the next. And these can be, something inexpensive, okay? But every person who asks a question, they pass the prize, okay? So you hand the prize to one person, and they pass it to the next person who asks the questions. If things are going slowly, just like with the ticket activity, take over. Just be like, stand next to the nearest person and say, oh, you want to know how much money I make? The answer is, and then you pass the prize along. Same idea as a ticket activity. Lewis is a little bit more interactive, and this can still be achieved virtually. Have a picture of the product, and then you can just pass the picture along. It's all adaptable, okay? Does anybody know what the envelope game is? Is anybody at least familiar, even if you haven't tried it? Does anybody know what this is?
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah? Does it, have you,
I don't know what it is.
a lot? Nicole, do you use this one a lot?
I use it. I've been using it for so many years, and it works very well.
Awesome. You want to tell them about it?
Yes. So I do 3 envelopes. I don't know how many everybody else does, but I do this in course with the ticket activity game.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it so that they want to ask me that question.
Mm-hmm.
And I entice them, and I tell them, I put a twist on the ticket game. So that one in particular person can earn an extra 2 tickets. So when you ask me the nosiest business question during this activity, I will give that person 2 tickets into the drawing. And I always will say, this is the question nobody really ever wants to ask because they think it's too nosy.
Mm-hmm.
But I will take any question that you want to know about the business. And then we just kind of go right into, eventually somebody does, generally for the most part, always ask, well, how much money do you make?
Yeah.
So at this point I pass out 3 of the envelopes. Envelope 1 has my very first paycheck in it from almost 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go over the details of that, how many shares I did, what I did to earn that. And I also let them know, now you don't know this about me, but my house was in foreclosure so many years ago. And I just tell them, this is what Pampered Chef did for me almost 7 years ago. This and one other paycheck pulled my house out of foreclosure. So I let them know what that specific paycheck did for me. And then I go into envelope 2, and I have the person open that one up. And because I pass them around and let everybody see them. And they open that one up, and they're all like, is this a month? And I'm like, yep. And then I have that person read off how many shows I did, and how much the paycheck was at that point then too. And then go to envelope 3 is always usually the biggest paycheck for the most part that I've ever made. And I go into details about that. At the end, I always say this about doing the envelope game though. This is not to brag about how much I make. This is to let you know that you can make an actual living out of selling spatulas and cookware and different things of that nature that help you in your kitchen. And I always mention to them, I don't know what Pampered Chef could do for you, but I know what it's done for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And just so you all know, the checks don't have to be just yours. Okay.
Yes, that too. Yes.
Yeah. Your upline is, I guarantee, is going to be very willing to share their paycheck. So it can be your very first one, your best one to date, and then your upline, 1 or 2 above to show that range. So if you're in the process of building and you want to have that range, go ahead and ask. Okay?
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is I used to take one of my team members' paychecks to some of my shows, and they went, I know her. And I was like, okay, never mind. So we were both too local to each other. So I used to do that. And then I kind of just got out of that and was like, I'm just going to show my checks.
Yeah. You know, a lot of the people, a lot of the top sellers and top recruiters in the company, if you're Facebook friends with them, ask them, because most of them will be happy to share because they want somebody else to be able to have that opportunity as well. Okay.
Mhm.
That's the envelope game. Okay, the do you know cards. So this is whether they can be index cards or just labels, you know, that you print off and stick right on the catalogs. And then at the end of the show, you ask somebody who has a card or has a sticker, and you have them read whatever's on there. So it could be, did you know that Pampered Chef consultants can earn free products every season? So those little tips like that. So that can be something that you just, you know, have each person read. You can do it all at the confident close, or you can do it kind of throughout. And then the why bag. Has anybody ever heard of the why bag? Okay, so the why bag, it's just a very visual way of doing it. So you take a gift bag and you're going to put a handful of small items that represent reasons why you love being a consultant. So Monopoly money, a toy car if you're making a car payment, flip-flops for trips that you've earned or that you want to earn. You know, anything that you can think of. I know people in the past, I know people have done like a rubber band because this business is flexible. Anything like that, that's just going to be a very visual representation of some of the different reasons why you love the business. And then the last one is the recruiting slide. This is on the reverse side of the booking slide. And this is a very simple way. You don't have to remember anything. You can just open it up and you can literally just read it down, or even better, have the people at the party read it out loud. Obviously that one is going to be like an in-person one, but you can still do snapshots of the slide and you can still post those in your virtual parties. Okay. So if you've never done any of these, try one for a month, try another one for a month. You've got to do it for a few parties so you get the hang of it, so you feel more comfortable with it, so you can actually start to see some results. But the most important thing, just like anything else, is we've got to be doing it. We have to be doing this at every single party, okay? And we, of course, will help you. So virtual parties, same thing. I've been kind of tying this all in, but all the same things apply to a virtual party, okay? The only thing that's really going to be different is that you're going to be doing a Google form instead of a door prize slip. And if you are not familiar with setting up a Google form, they are super easy and we will help you. But that is how you get the contact information and you can follow up with your leads from your virtual parties, okay? Full service checkouts, do these on the phone. When somebody places an order, pick up the phone and call them. So critical with virtual parties that you become a real person to them. Even if you go live in your parties and you know you have videos, that's really important. But until they have a one-on-one conversation with you, that relationship is still sketchy at best. Call, always call for your checkout chats for your virtual parties. Okay? And then you're going to follow up emails and that kind of thing just like you normally would. Okay, so lots of different graphics, and these can be used in your virtual parties. You can just post them occasionally in your VIP groups, on your wall, your biz page, whatever. But we want to make sure that recruiting is just a part of our normal conversation with everybody. Because when somebody sees a post, you know, 1 week, it may not be something that's going to fit in their life right now. But 3.5 weeks later, something may have changed, and now maybe it's going to make sense for them. So we are always talking about it because there's always somebody who's going to hear it, who's going to need it at that point in time. So these are all on marketing imagery. So I'm sure most of you have seen this. I'm just going to pull up a chat. Brian, with your Google form, how do you encourage people to fill it out? I did 3 parties with mine and nothing. Do a drawing. Okay, fill this out. I'm going to give you a prize. Same thing that you would do at an in-person party. Okay? And you can make sure that the host is tagging people. You can bring in your host as well, but just make it very simple, like fill this out and you get entered for a prize. Or you can even give everybody a season's best who does it. You know what I mean? And so then if they're placing an order, you add it onto their order. And if they don't place an order, they're very inexpensive to mail. And it doesn't even have to be the current season's best. It can be an old one that costs you 60 cents. Okay? All right, so marketing imagery, if you haven't seen these yet, we're just going to scroll through them. There's a whole bunch of different ones. They focus on different things. They look different because people are going to react to things differently. Somebody's going to really resonate with one. Something else is going to resonate with somebody else. But making sure that you're doing a variety of these and make sure you do them on a regular basis. Okay? This one you've probably seen before. It gives the examples of all the different ways people can try this out. It's another graphic of the same thing. These are nice because people don't always understand that just because you sign up doesn't mean you have to go, 100%, that you can do it once in a while, that they have different opportunities, okay? Just make sure you do this stuff on a regular basis. All right, so that was all informing. Now we need to talk about inviting. So this is always done at the full service checkout. And I think we've talked about this before. Truth, no consequences. Do you always do a full service checkout at every single party, every single time? If yes, raise your hand or say yes. Okay, if it's not an every single party, every single time, this right here will be a game changer for your business. This is where you find your recruits and you find your bookings. This is where your business is at your parties. Guarantee. Once in a while, you're going to have somebody come up and say, hey, I want to do a party. Once in a while, you have somebody come up and be like, hey, I want to do this with you. 99% of the time, it's going to happen here. So if you're not doing it every single time, talk to one of us and we will help you, but it has to be done every single time, okay? So this is where you can follow up with things from whatever game you did, the ticket activity or whatever. You can ask them very simply. So, you start with, did you have some fun? What did you think of the food? If it's a virtual party, what did you think? Just talk to them a little bit about it. And then you can ask them as simple as, was there anything about this that seemed interesting to you? Because you were so much fun, I think you'd be fantastic at this. That's all it is. Just ask them an open-ended question like that and see what they say. If they say, a yes or a maybe, then you want to see about, setting up some time to, just chat a little bit more. Let me back up. If somebody says, yes, I'm interested in doing this, you can ask them, do you have any questions or are you ready to order a kit tonight? Because guess what? People order kits at parties. They do. Okay? Nicole, Michelle, have you ever had people sign up right at a party? Oh, I think we lost Michelle.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay,
yes,
there you are.
we do. I just laid it down. I was listening. Yeah,
Okay.
I've had it happen multiple times.
Yep. Nicole?
A few here and there.
Yep. Give them permission. Some people will absolutely be ready to do it at the party. So this is how you're going to find them out. You're going to ask, say, have you ever, what about this was interesting? I think you'd be great at this. You were so much fun, that kind of thing. And if they say yes, great. What kit do you think you'd want to order? Well, I'd probably go with the Ultimate Kit. Well, if that's the one you want, we can actually order it right now. Okay? And people will order the kit. If they're saying, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm not sure about this, or this. So you know what? A lot of people have questions about that. Why don't we go grab some coffee tomorrow and we can talk about it? One thing to keep in mind is this is not the place to do the interview, okay? This is a place to find your leads and set up a follow-up time. Why do we not do the interview here? Go ahead and unmute yourselves. Why is this not a good idea? Brian, what do you remember from Sunday? I'm going to put you on the spot. Why are we not doing the interview at the full service checkout?
The reason why you don't want to do it at the full service checkout is because you're going to wind up taking time away from the other guests at the party. You really want to touch base with them quickly so you can say, okay, awesome. When's a good time for me to reach out to you tomorrow? Or, if they want to set it up right then and there, great. We'll order this for you here. Go ahead and fill this out over here. Yep. I'm going to take 3 other people. We'll get these in, and then I'll come back to you, and we'll go ahead and set that up.
Yep. And the other thing to keep in mind, too, is we want to make sure that the person who has questions is getting our full attention and that we give them complete respect, okay? Right. So this is a chance to find your leads and set up the follow-up time. The interview happens another time. And if they're ready to go, great. But if they have questions, we're going to follow up with them, okay? And if somebody says no, very basic question, is that a no never or just a no not right now? Because a lot of times it's a not right now, but if we don't ask that, then we have written them off and then they will never be on our team. They will never have a chance to try it because nobody offered it to them. So ask, is that a not now or a never? Okay? Excuse me. And that way you have a chance to follow up with them whenever they're ready. All right? And then always making sure you're doing your 24-hour follow-up calls. So whatever parties you book and any leads that you have, that you get at your full service checkouts, the next day you're doing 24-hour calls. So these a lot of times are going to be called the Big Mac calls, morning after calls. Some of you have heard that. But here are some things you can say. Hey, Julie, this is April at Pampered Chef. I wanted to give you a quick call to say thank you for booking a party last night. We're going to have a blast. Can't wait to see you on January 13th, whatever it was. I know we talked about this yesterday, but you have been on my mind since last night. I really think you'd be a fantastic consultant, and it would be so much fun to have you as part of the team. I'd love to take you out to a cup of coffee and just give you a little bit more information and see what you think. Go ahead and ask that. Even if they said no the time before, you can go ahead and say, look, I really can't stop thinking about how great you'd be. Don't lie. If you think they suck, don't tell them. Okay? But there are always people at the parties, and every one of you knows has had this happen, whether it's a virtual party and in person. You walk away going, damn, they were so good. Tell them, okay? Worst case, you complimented somebody and you made their day. Best case, they're going to give it a try, and it turns out to be something fantastic for them. Okay? Morning after call to guests, it's pretty much the same thing. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you had fun. I know we talked about it last night, but I can't stop thinking about how great you'd be. Okay? Morning after calls are fantastic. Same thing if they say yes, set up a time. If they say no, is it a no now or a no never, and offer to do a party. Okay? All right. So one thing to remember is that we never know what's going on in people's heads when they're at your parties. Again, virtual, in person. You don't know who was up last night trying to figure out how they're going to pay bills. You don't know if somebody was crying, dropping off their baby at daycare. They don't know if somebody is wondering if their electricity is going to get turned off. Nicole was just sharing that her house is in foreclosure. You don't know who maybe can't retire because they don't have the money. Maybe somebody is worried about having money to pay for braces or a wedding, or somebody who absolutely hates their current job and is seriously fighting depression because there's no joy in their life. We don't know. We have to ask. All right. This is why we do this. Remember, we are in a relationship business. We happen to sell kitchen tools, and this is the relationship that we're looking to build. Okay. Ask everyone every single time. If we don't ask, what's the answer going to be?
No.
Okay? But if you ask, you may have given somebody the ticket they needed to really change their life. You have to ask. Okay? All right. So we're all looking to grow, right? Each one of you wants to be a director team. Overall, we are looking to build our organizations to advanced director, senior director, and executive bound. So this is what we need to be doing. All right? Call to action for this week. Practice your recruiting messages and the activities. So the games that you're going to do, the seeds that you're going to plant, you need to practice those. You can practice them with your cat. I don't care. Practice them. Okay? Better off, pick somebody in this group that you don't know. Message them and say, hey, you want to practice? Okay? Because then you can really learn from each other. Okay? Observe somebody's show, somebody who's a strong recruiter. If you don't know who, ask one of us. Observe a party. Offer the opportunity at the full service checkout every single person, every single time, and do a 24-hour call. Okay? And continuing on with your 15 contacts a week outside of your parties. And remember, about half of those should be new contacts. Okay? So do your out and abouts, ask for referrals, those kinds of things. Make sure you're doing your power hour. And this time we're going to listen to Top Recruiters Tell All. And I got to tell you, this one is a really good one. They're all good, but the first time I heard this, my jaw was on it. I couldn't write fast enough. It's an amazing call. Okay? All right. So keep your eye on the goal. We need to stay focused. And if you want to get to the goal that you set at the beginning, this is where we start to see the magic happen. Both of us, all of us know, if you're in this training, you have the ability to make this happen, and you have a gift to give somebody. And that may sound cheesy or corny, but it is 100% true. And the way it happens is by sharing this business. It is hands down the best product that you could ever offer anybody. So make sure that you're doing it every single time. Thank you all so much for investing another hour in yourselves and in this group. You are all incredible. And we are so excited to see you here every week, sticking with it. If you've noticed the group has gotten smaller, that is going to happen. You are still here. You can make this work.
Exactly.
Keep doing your homework. If you get stuck, call us. Things are not perfect. You're going to hit walls. We all still do. Reach out, share your successes, let us know when you're struggling, and every single one of you is going to be a director team, and we are going to see each one of you on stage at conference. Start shopping for your red outfits now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Have
Thanks,
a great
Julie.
night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.